I thank the gentleman from Arizona for recognizing me and yielding some time. And I appreciate the years that we've sat elbow to elbow on the Judiciary Committee and on the Constitution Subcommittee and done the battle for life. But what I'm reflecting on here tonight is the sequence of pro-life leaders that I've had the privilege to walk these floors and halls with. And when Trent Franks and I arrived at this Congress, Henry Hyde had the lead. And he did so many glorious things to lay the foundation for life down. And Chris Smith was there at his side the full time that I was here. And then Joe Pitts. I want to remember Joe Pitts as well, and Trent Franks. So I put you four in a category of the leaders in this movement here on the floor of the House of Representatives. And I counted and I remain counting those moments precious that I have to serve and work on this cause with each of you. And this bill that we will bring to the floor tomorrow on a rules vote and a final passage vote will pass this floor of the House of Representatives. I have every confidence that it will, and it'll be messaged over to the Senate. And there's a lot of work that's been put in this. The 16 states that have passed the legislation that is similar to H.R. 36, Pain-Capable Unborn Child Protection Act. I'd just add that when Mr. Johnson mentioned the 7 countries that allow for an elective abortion after 20 weeks, of course, the United States. The other 6, he mentioned a couple of them, North Korea, China, which will impose forcible abortions on mothers, cruel and heinous activity, Vietnam, Singapore, Netherlands, and Canada. I think Canada might have been affected with the United States along the way. The Netherlands are one of the more liberal countries in the world. And this list is not a list that I want the United States of America in. I want us out, and I want to be able to send this message that a baby that has a chance at survival at 20 weeks of development from conception, that 20 weeks, that precious little baby that Vicki Hartzler so well described in her presentation here, and I think 65% of premature babies born in the 22 to 26 weeks will survive. 65%. We all know 1 or 2 of those little babies walking around. I ran into a friend that I hadn't seen in several years, and at the grocery store here after church a couple of weeks ago, and I asked him how his son was doing, and I'm not going to use names here on purpose. I asked him how his son was doing. So he's doing fine. He's 30 years old now. He's got a great job out there. He's got a family. I've got grandchildren. All things were wonderful. And he knew why I asked him, because we were doing a job that he was on back then when that little premature boy was born in the 21 or 22 week old. And when he came back from 2 weeks of sitting next to that child where he could come back home again and go to work, because he was now had a good chance that that little boy would be able to survive. And I said, we'll spend all kinds of money, won't we? We'll do anything. We'll go to any length to keep a child alive who's born premature. A child that's born at 20 weeks, 21 weeks, 22, 23, 24, 26 weeks, there is no expense that we will spare ourselves from, because that life we know is so precious. Well, the life in the womb is as precious as the life out of the womb, and the pain that that child feels at 20 weeks, 22 weeks, 24 weeks. But this little boy, he remembered what I said to him that day. I said, you're doing everything to save this little child's life. But when you go into the polls and vote, you're going to vote on the other side of that issue like you always have. And he called me a name kind of like the president did some of the NFL players that day. But he remembered exactly what I had said to him 30-some years ago. And he said, you know, you really straightened me out that day, because I gave him my remarks on that. Now, that is a change in heart and a change in minds. And America has undergone a change in heart and a change in minds. In fact, I stepped into my staff's office just here last Friday, and the frame of the ultrasound of his firstborn is there. And it's been there for 9 years beside the desk. And that little child, they first bonded with him by looking at the ultrasound. And that little child, by the way, is my godson. So just each one of these lives are so utterly precious. And we're not going to stop. We're going to defend every life we can. We're going to protect every life we can. We're going to do the right thing that we can for the babies that we can save. And meanwhile, this goes on the conscience of America when we fall short. Well, we're not going to fall short tomorrow. We're going to succeed. And we're going to find a way to move this legislation and others through the House and through the Senate to a president's desk who will sign that legislation. And when we contemplate the litigation that's bound to take place because there are people that are dug in deeply on promoting and defending abortion, we're going to have a new Supreme Court. One more appointment to that court, and we will get this past them and a number of other pieces of legislation as well. And so I thank the gentleman from Arizona for his attention, his years of work on this very precious cause, and all the rest who have done so much to step up and defend these lives. And I'm looking forward to tomorrow. There should be a great shout of joy come off the floor of the House of Representatives. I return my time to the gentleman from Arizona.